Good morning and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kolvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. Thanks for listening. We got Kyle Thomas on as well today, certified financial planner on the Haven investment team. Where every week we come to you and talk to you about what's going on in the economy, retirement, do's and don'ts, and all kinds of great conversation. Kim, right? Good to be with you again.
Well, it's great to be with you, and it's great to have Kyle with us this morning as well. Yeah, each week we talk about all kinds of things, and this week we're going to talk about retirement and tax questions. Taxes, it's one of your favorite subjects, Larry.
Well, it is. Not necessarily, but it is because we find that people don't talk much about it or plan much. And they miss opportunities that if they had a discussion, they may have done things differently. And we all know we work hard for every dollar that we have, and most people don't want to give an extra money to Uncle Sam, and unless you really want to. And I don't know many people that do.
Right, exactly. I think we can all find other uncles that we'd like to give money to if we're just giving money out. That is for certain. One of the misconceptions I think a lot of people have before we get started here today is that when you go into retirement, Larry, you don't pay as much taxes, so you don't really need to worry about it, right?
Yeah, that is so untrue, because oftentimes in retirement, taxes will affect you more than ever before in your life. So it's why it's so important to have these discussions. Planning for retirement can feel complicated and overwhelming, but if listeners would just have a partner that they could lean on, like we talk about every week, if somebody they could rely on, ask questions, and go to, and they'll know that they're going to be there, they could alleviate a lot of these stresses and concerns that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just want to remind everybody that as you listen this morning, if some of this rings true for you, and if you have some questions and you need them answered, maybe you're looking for that partner, give them a call at Haven Financial. It's 612-504-8400. That's 612-504-8400. As we mentioned, we're going to talk about retirement and taxes today. We're going to get started with talking about the Federal Reserve and some of the things that were said last month in Jackson Hole during a big financial summit. There were some things said there that really have impacted the economy, and many experts anticipate will continue to impact, and we're going to kind of unpack that and talk about it just a bit. Then we'll talk about strategies to manage your taxes in retirement, why RMDs can be a key piece of your retirement strategy. And if you're wondering what RMDs are, we're going to explain that as well. And finally, will downsizing your home save you money when you retire? Most specifically, will it save you tax money? So we're going to talk about all of those subjects this morning. Larry, let's get started, though, talking about what happened in Jackson Hole and what the Federal Reserve had to say. And Kyle, maybe it's you who would want to address what happened last month.
Sure. Yeah. And so the Fed has meetings almost every month, every single year. And they have an annual meeting at Jackson Hole. And this is a big meeting that people look forward to get some guidance. And this meeting was very people were very anxious to get the guidance from this one, because we've had a lot of interest rate conversations in the last couple of years with the expectation of cuts, and then the cuts not actually happening. And so now everyone is wanting to know, is there going to be cuts this year? Well, we all know the president is vying for that, but the Fed has just had a little different opinion on those. And the Fed itself has actually been, they haven't been in congruence with each other. But we did hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell that a rate cut could be coming in September. So he didn't commit to that, but he did indicate that it could be coming. And the reason that we're also thinking that is because the job market, it's stable, but there were some signs of slowing demand, and supply could quickly tip towards some weakness on that side of it. And if we remember what the Fed is looking at, they're looking at the job market and inflation. Mm-hmm. So if we see the job market start to weaken a little bit, it's probably a good indicator that we could have a rate cut coming. And there is an 85% chance of an expected cut here in September.
Yeah. Well, and again, we reiterate that a cut was sort of expected, but maybe not the magnitude at which we may see these cuts, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're thinking maybe a 0.25% cut here in September. As we talked about earlier here, there was an expectation there would be several cuts this year at the beginning of the year, and here we are, just talking about a couple for the year in total. So we're definitely at a lesser degree than what we were anticipating, and Fed Chair Powell's seat is up in May as well, so we have to keep that in mind with a policy change potentially coming when his seat is up.
Sure. You mentioned the job market, and we have seen the job market weaken a bit. How much influence might that have once we learn more about the August job market?
Well, the way that the Fed works is that they're data driven, right? So they're going to look at whatever the data is. The inflation part of their two-legged approach to this with inflation and job market. Inflation is not quite at that 2% level that they want it to be at. And they said that they were going to focus on the job piece of it more so than the inflation numbers. And the job market had been really good for a while here this year. And if we see any signs of weakness, it could propel some more cuts, maybe in December as well. But they're going to be completely data driven on this. And it's going to depend on what that following or that previous month's numbers were for jobless claims and whatever the market statistics are for that.
So Larry, circle this back for us and let's talk about how this impacts our listeners.
Well, it shouldn't really impact at all, but it does because it creates worry and concern and then questions, and all of that uncertainty is not good in retirement. But what it does is, there could be some interest rate changes. Those money market CDs and high yield savings might not look so good. But loans interest rates could be going down. So maybe restructuring debt, consider refinancing that house if you do have a mortgage still. However, if anybody has the ability to not have a mortgage in retirement, that's a better alternative. So by having a plan, sticking to the plan, these things have repercussions for people. But if you stick to the plan and don't deviate from it and get all the worried and, get ready to jump off a cliff because of all this activity, it creates a lot more stability. So, your retirement strategy is completely reliant on your situation. And that's where at Haven we sit down and we try to figure out where are you at? What are you doing? What aren't you doing? What should you be doing? And then by doing that, we can continue to modify that and help people stay on track. It's why we're called Haven Financial Group. It's a nautical theme, not only because we all love to be on the water in the summertime, but we do. But if you get off just a degree or two in retirement, you may end up in the wrong spot, in a spot that you weren't planning on getting to. So you got to stay on track.
Absolutely. Kyle, let me go back to you for just a second. If we would see some major cuts before the year is out, and when I say major, I know we talked about 0.25%. Now you were talking, there's been speculation of even more than that, two times. So, what kind of impact would that have on the economy, you think, as we headed back into January?
Yeah, and it's hard to say for certain what that impact would be, but we have a good indicator on how the market would react to that, the stock market specifically, because just on the talks of a potential cut, the market jumped in a positive note very, very well. It responded very positively to that potential cut. So if we have an actual cut and potentially more cuts, I'm thinking that the stock market is going to respond very nicely for people who are invested in the stock market. Now, we've been expecting that for the last few years. So I don't want people to think that this is 100% thing that it's going to happen, because everyone's been wrong a lot in the last couple of years on expecting these things. So, and on the opposite side of that, if these rate cuts don't necessarily happen, the market could respond poorly to that. So it's hard to say exactly, because we don't exactly know what all is priced into the markets. But I would assume that the stock market would have some positive days following any rate cuts.
Well, one of the things we know, gentlemen, and I think both of you would agree, is that a lot of times we just don't know what's coming. That's what we do know. And for that reason, I think it's really important for people to have flexibility in their retirement plan and to just be prepared for the ups and downs, correct?
Yeah, that's why it's so beneficial to be working with an advisor and planners who encompass all of these things, because once you have a plan that's built around all these ups and downs and unknowns, you're going to be in a good spot regardless of what happens.
Absolutely.
So making sure that you have stress tested all of these different scenarios and knowing that your outcome is unfazed by all those scenarios, that's the best spot you can be in, because now you don't have to stress about it.
So if you're looking for a partner, can I suggest that you give the folks here at Haven Financial Group a call? 612-504-8400. That's the number. You reach them, tell them you heard us here on the radio and you'd like to come in and sit down and talk about your portfolio. Maybe you don't have one. Maybe you have one and it needs a stress test. During these uncertain times, this is the time to certainly get a checkup. It's 612-504-8400. Kyle Thomas, thanks so much. It was great to hear your insight on what the Fed is doing and what they may do in the next couple of months. When we come back, strategies to manage your taxes in retirement. This is the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.